Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy, Golden Folds, Golden What Ifs, whatever you want to call me, and I am back. This is What If Deku Had Solo Leveling, or What If Deku Had the System. I know it's not technically right to call it What If Deku Had Solo Leveling, and my explanation for calling it that specifically is more of a titling purpose and a YouTube kind of keyword purpose. So I know technically it's What If Deku Had the System. The movie of this will most likely be called that specifically, but it is What If Deku Had Solo Leveling. Now, with that said, I hope y'all enjoy. If you do, show some love to the video. Now, with that said, I want to get right into it because I got a lot to do, a lot to say, and a lot to talk about. So let's get it. Izuku Midoriya. He was born like everyone else, but soon he would realize that he was a little bit different, because Izuku Midoriya was born without a quirk. Yes, the thing that would give him the opportunity to become a pro hero, to become a hero like All Might, to do things that others wanted to do for their entire lives. Well, he wouldn't be able to do it. Or at least that's what a lot of people would say. He would get backlash from teachers, from students, from everybody, telling him that he should just stop trying now, that he should just give up, that there's no way he's going to be able to actually become a hero, that he's not going to be able to become the hero he wants to be, nor a hero in general. And this would shatter Izuku in pieces. The idea that he can't be like his hero All Might, the idea that he can't be like a hero just that can save people, help people, or do the right thing and do good things in general, the fact that he can't do any of those breaks his heart to pieces. Because Izuku Midoriya, all he sees for himself is becoming a pro hero, just like his idol, All Might. But here's the thing. He would go throughout life like pretty basic and pretty simply. He would go through the motions of going to school and doing this or doing that, and, you know, taking time off and doing homework and stuff like that. And it would lead him throughout life, and a pretty basic one, at least early on, and he would still feel compelled to actually go and try to become a hero, actually go and still become part of UA High School's students or future pro heroes. Now, this would be extremely difficult because at the end of the day, Izuku Midoriya has no quirk, and he has not trained or hasn't worked at anything to become stronger. Yes, in terms of studying, he is pretty damn good. I mean, he has a lot of information on different heroes, on their fight styles, and so on and so forth. But in terms of, well, raw power, in terms of martial arts, in terms of just anything you can think of that may help him in this journey, he flat out has not trained it. He flat out has not given himself the ability or the chance to actually defend himself to a large degree. And it all came to a head when one of his last days at middle school would come approaching. Because that last day, he would hear the teacher talking about job searches and a career aptitude tests and so on, but then he would say and cut himself off, saying that he knows every single one of them here wants to become a hero. I mean, who doesn't want to be a hero? Who doesn't want to be like Endeavor, like All Might, like so many other heroes that are out there saving people, right? And they even have some of their own trying out for UA High School, and that would be Katsuki Bakugo. Now, with Katsuki Bakugo, it seems as if he's pretty, let's just say, prideful of himself, thinking that he is pretty damn great, and his explosion quirk and many other students would tell him that specifically. Now, Izuku Midoriya would be the other person trying out for UA High School, and many of the people there would say that Izuku has no chance, like zero, that there's no chance a quirkless loser like Izuku Midoriya could actually do this. All he is, and in the words of Bakugo at least, all he is a Deku. He's useless. But this Deku would be changed forever very, very soon. Because before you could even imagine it. Izuku would be done with this class and he would be packing his stuff up. But it seems like Bakugo is going to make an example out of him, smashing his hand on the desk, exploding the desk, and even telling Izuku that he would be better off throwing himself off the side of the building and hoping that he gets a quirk in the next life. And he tells him that he is useless, that there is no point for him to even be here anymore. And let's just say this would break Izuku in terms of he would feel extremely awful as he would take the stuff that he has and even go out and pick up his journal that is all soaked in a fountain nearby that was thrown outside a window, and he would just head home. But this time, when he was heading home, he would leave a little bit differently, going underneath a bridge that he never goes under but decides to go under today. Now, this would lead to something amazing but also terrifying at the same time, because he would hear this crashing of this villain underneath what seems to be a manhole cover, and he looks toward the manhole cover, wondering what the hell it is, thinking to himself that there shouldn't be anybody down there anyways. But soon he would realize very quickly at what this thing is, because the manhole cover would come blasting out and he would barely be able to dodge it as it's about to hit him in the face. The sludge villain would come barreling toward him without even a second notice, just completely engulfing Izuku. And as Izuku continues to struggle and the sludge villain continues to try and basically suffocate him and take his body, it seems as if Izuku's air is slipping. His oxygen, his ability to breathe is going away, and the sludge villain continuously is seemingly actually about to kill him. The sludge villain, in his panic, seems to try and take over Izuku's body, but is actually failing. He's trying to take over Izuku's body, but unfortunately fails and, almost kills Izuku instead. But luckily there's someone that is about to show up that is going to save him, but unfortunately not save him in time. At least not in time for Izuku Midoriya to die, because Izuku Midoriya is watching his life flash before his eyes. Izuku Midoriya is watching as his life is being stripped away from him, covered in a green goo, and as if his body was completely out of it, as if his mind, body, and soul were now separating from his body. He could see himself engulfed in that goo, in that green sludge, and then out of nowhere his body would be getting slung across the area, barreling out from underneath the bridge. And as it tumbles and as it crashes, Izuku would be sucked back into his body, his soul or his mind and his consciousness sucked back into his body, and all he would see is darkness. But then he would see something. He would see one thing that would show up in front of him. This is where things begin to change. It seems like it's a video game-like screen, and it basically tells him that if he doesn't accept this quest, that if he doesn't accept this idea and this system of becoming strong and leaning and setting off on the quest of becoming strong, then he will die. And it begins to count down. He has to make an answer, yes or no. Does he accept or does he decline? And it says if he does not answer, it will be imminent death. If he says no, it will be imminent death. And it begins to count down from 10, 9, 8, 7, and then Izuku realizes what it's saying, realizes what he has to do, and he clicks the yes button, as Izuku would then wake up almost instantaneously and spit out part of the sludge villain that was in his body, and he looks up to see the one, the only All Might. All Might would be standing there asking if he's okay, because the kid wasn't even breathing. Deku would then struggle to his feet, and he would tell All Might that he thinks he's okay. And he looks around and asks what happened to the sludge villain, and All Might says that he collected him up and that everything's okay now. He's just happy that the kid is safe and sound and not, kicking the bucket. In which Izuku turns around and thinks to himself, okay, but how did that even happen? How did what was that? In which All Might would ask, what is what? In which Izuku would look around once again, and as he turns around again, he sees that All Might has already jumped off and left, taking the sludge villain to prison. Unfortunately, All Might couldn't stay. He has a lot to do, but unfortunately, Izuku had a couple more questions for him that will not be answered at this moment. But as Izuku is continuing his journey, walking back home, or continuing his path, it seems like other things begin to pop up. A message popping up in his top right corner of his vision. Clicking on that message, he sees information talking about what he's doing, talking about the system, talking about what he currently has, and that he's been chosen by the system itself to become powerful, to become strong, in which would shock Izuku, thinking that maybe this is his quirk, maybe this is his calling, maybe this is the way that he actually can become a hero. In which immediately as he thinks this, he sees something that pops up, and it says daily quest, trained to become a formidable combatant. And immediately it says goals: push-ups 100, sit-ups 100, squats 100. And immediately it says, and then it says run 10 kilometers. Caution: if the daily quest remains incomplete, penalties will be given accordingly. Immediately Izuku is thinking, that is insane. But what does it mean by daily quest? Does that mean if he doesn't do it now before the end of the day, being that of 12 a.m., does that mean he fails the daily quest and then he gets penalized for it? Or is it another 24 hours that he's given? He thinks to himself that it's probably a dumb idea for him to just ignore this, something that literally just saved his life. So immediately he would run home, thinking at least he can get a head start on this 10-kilometer run. And then once he gets home, he'll do his push-ups, sit-ups, and squats. But he knows this is going to be freaking hard, and that is an understatement. So he decides to run home, getting a little bit of the running done, and he continues to do his push-ups, his sit-ups, and also his squats, getting those done relatively easily, because he's not, a weak kid by any means. He's not like, terribly weak, but he is kind of struggling. Now, this 10-kilometer run is what really is going to put him behind, but he decides to try his best, and let's just say through a lot of struggle, he barely gets it before 12 a.m., but soon he would realize that it's really just a 24-hour limit from the time you got the system. But nonetheless, it doesn't really matter, because he basically puts it perfectly in terms of, more or less just kind of the sequence of needing to do it. So now it could be the full 24 hours from 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. type thing. So now he doesn't have to worry about it in terms of a 24-hour idea. But he does get rewards for it, which would shock him greatly. And it would say status recovery, it would say 3 stat points, or a random loot box. In which he would think, what is it talking about? What stat points? And as he says stat points, it seems like these stats come up. And immediately it shows different stats that he can actually put things into, being that of strength, durability, intelligence, agility, sense. These stats would be completely out of the ordinary for Izuku, because what the heck is this? Like, this is like an actual video game. How is he supposed to, or what is even happening? Like, how is he supposed to manage all this? What do all these things even mean? Because at the end of the day, seriously, there's only so much you could actually, know or understand, right? We're talking, what does strength and vitality and agility and intelligence and sense truly mean? It's kind of an interesting thought, but he thinks to himself, he really has to really break this all down for himself. And as he's looking at the stat page, he sees that it also says his name, Izuku Midoriya. But on top of that, it has a job and title right there, or sitting right there, that is just kind of sitting there stagnant, as if nothing has been inserted, or he hasn't had a job or title. Now, he's not sure what that means either, but at least he sees that now he can put stats, he guesses, so he decides he's going to put 3 stats or his 3 points into strength. He feels like that's the best way to go about it, especially because we're talking about push-ups, sit-ups, and squats. Maybe that will make it easier for him to do those things, and then also make it easier for to do his runs. And Izuku would continue to do this, and let's just say he's gonna be pretty damn powerful after a 10-month training period. And let's just flat out say this: if he just sticks to his daily quest, just that alone, and just keeps putting stats after stats after stats after stats, he's going to continuously get stronger and stronger, and he's going to be drastically more powerful. Now, he won't have much else other than those stats, and he even sees that there is like a shop and other things like that where he could sell things and buy items, but he hasn't even gotten that far. After the 10 months of training, he would have stats that look very similar to like 303 strength, 200 vitality, 200 intelligence, 100 agility, and 100 sense. He's overall pretty balanced, but he feels that having more strength would at least give him the ability to kind of fight at the level that a lot of these other people fight at. And his intelligence, his sense, and all that, it just helps so drastically with his future assignments and studying for the UA entrance exam, because that's a massive thing that Izuku wants to do. And he does consider, or does think, and kind of thinks to himself, should he tell his mother about what he has and about, like, you know, his powers and his strength and all that? Should he really do that? I mean, what happens if he doesn't, or what happens if he does, or should he, or he's not sure. He doesn't know, and has no idea if he really should do that to that extent. And he feels like his level of strength is just off the charts, and it may be kind of scary. So he does eventually decide to tell his mother. He decides to tell Inko Midoriya about what he has, what he's doing, and what happened. She would freak out a little bit, but then Izuku would show proof that he has all of the things he said he has. He would show off his strength, and his strength would be insane. In a light punch, he would be able to shatter a tree. Yeah, shatter a tree. Because we are talking about a totally different version of the system at this point, because Izuku himself, in terms of time, if we're talking about it making it a daily quest, I mean, the time within My Hero Academia is absolutely insane. And I'm gonna be honest with you, there is no point, no chance, and no real reason that Izuku would either choose a random loot box, and he doesn't even know what that is, frankly, and he thinks that's kind of useless for now. And the only other thing that I could think that he would end up using, maybe from time to time, maybe that would decrease his output a little bit, would be the status recovery. But you got to keep in mind, he also just doesn't fight anybody yet, so his status recovery doesn't really matter. It's just massive amounts of fatigue in terms of, well, him utilizing it to a certain extent. But it does seem kind of odd that his stats can be so high, that all of these stats, I mean, it feels as if he's super strong, super fast, and everything you can possibly think of. It seems like he's going to be able to take everything on, but what he doesn't understand is that the system that was given to him is a little bit different. I mean, at the end of the day, he hasn't done really much of what he should be doing in terms of, well, other things that he doesn't even know exist yet. But at the end of the day, he does realize very quickly that when he does another daily quest, it seems as if the stats no longer exist, that he can no longer gain stat points, only status recovery and random loot boxes. In which this would confuse him just a little bit, thinking that maybe he overdid it, maybe he did too many of them, or got too many stat points, in which would kind of make him confused. Like, is this his maximum strength? How is he going to do anything better? I mean, it makes no sense to him. This thing, I mean, it's basically useless now. Why would he do a daily quest that's not going to make him any stronger? In which this would frustrate him just a little bit, but he would then think to himself, maybe he should just not do the quest. I mean, what's the point now? There is no point. So he decides one day, very soon, close to heading up to going to UA, he decides that he's not going to do the quest anymore. He's not going to do the he's going to just take on whatever penalty zone they're talking about. I mean, who cares, right? I mean, at this point, it doesn't matter. So he wants to see what the penalty is all about, because at the end of the day, he's been doing this for 10 months straight. I mean, it's driving him insane at this point. Like, what's even going on? Why is this even a thing? And why the heck is he not able to get any stronger? I mean, this is something that is confusing Izuku, but soon he would realize that there's so much more beyond just this daily training and just this daily training thing to get stronger, because soon the penalty zone would put him in his place. But luckily enough, work ethic and strength and everything he's gained, let's just say it might put him in his place and make him realize that there's so much more. But there's also something good about being sent somewhere that is very unknown to himself, because when he's sitting in bed watching the time tick, and as 11:59 p.m. is about to strike 12 a.m., he then realizes that he really should have done the quest, because now he's going to have to deal with something a little bit scary. He would appear in what seems to be a desert. It's a vast desert where endless fields of sand stretch throughout the horizon, and there's no wind. There's no sun, no moon, no stars. It's just an empty sky, and it's terrifying. It's as if it's a painting, as if it's this painting that was created for this specifically. And as he turns around, let's just say this right here is something he wasn't expecting, because poison fanged giant centipedes begin barreling at him, and he begins to run, thinking this is insane. How could this even be happening? What are these things? And he looks at them, and his senses begin to go off, and it seems as if it's showing that these monsters are this weird green glowing color, not necessarily around them, but around their top of their heads. And they're called poison fanged giant centipedes, but it's as if it's telling him that he could actually defeat these things, that these are relatively a simple defeat, and that he is high enough quote unquote level, even though he's not really leveled up much. He's literally only gotten stats from the daily quest, but he is high enough level to basically fight these things, or high enough strength and all of the stats to fight these things. So he turns around and lands a punch on one of them and sends its head flying clean off. And as he does this, he feels more exhilarated, more confident. So he continues to bash in all of these things. And as he does, he begins to gain different fragments, as if he's gaining the fangs of the poison fanged giant centipede and gaining the scales of the poison fanged giant centipede. As he's gaining different things, he's confused. It's as if he has this infinite inventory that he didn't even know about. Everything about this it's as if he didn't have this thing for 10 months. He's learning so much more. Maybe there is so much more to this system that has been gifted to him. Maybe there truly is so much more to what he has. Izuku would continue striking down these centipedes, and eventually there would be none left. Eventually it would be gone. It'll be handled, but it seems as if the next time the penalty zone is entered, well, let's just say, it's not going to be as simple as it was, because it's going to adjust and readjust to what strength he's currently at. But that's a problem for another day that Izuku doesn't even know is going to happen. He would get out of the penalty zone and would be covered in sweat, sitting on the bed that he left with sand kind of carried over a little bit from that area. But he sees that he's leveled up. He's leveled up 5 levels, and he can actually put more stats to an extent within his own stats for strength, durability, intelligence, and sense. It's not a ton of stat points, but he's gotten a little bit per level is what it seems like, gaining around 5 stats per level. But as he basically checks out his stats once again, it seems as if they've changed, as if his stats have kind of changed a little bit, as if the penalty zone, well, it adjusted not only himself but also the stats that he has. It seems he truly didn't understand what this whole thing was all about, and it seems as if the penalty zone decided that, well, it was going to penalize him even more than sending him into a death trap of centipedes, but it was going to reduce his stats even more, reducing his strength to actually 203 and his vitality and intelligence back down to 100. It seems as if he has now a base stat of 203 for strength and then 100 down the board. He's confused at why this happened, but he does have 25 basically more points that he can put within the system. It's as if the system basically penalized him for not continuously growing and continuously doing his daily quest, and him thinking that he was truly done with it. So he decides that he's going to put, well, the extra 25 points that he has into intelligence, making his intelligence 125. And he has a really insanely good stat total still, but the system itself took away quite a bit from Izuku Midoriya, and he still doesn't have a name or a job, or a title itself. And, well, soon he would be able to get that, because he has a quest that is about to show up for him, and as it shows up, it says get into UA High School at the UA High School entrance exam. And that's exactly what his next quest will be, and he heads off soon, the next day, to the UA entrance exam, and he listens to President Mike speak about this and that, but Izuku continues to look at his entire system. I mean, he wants to learn now. He wants to figure this thing out, because there has to be more. There's so much more that he doesn't know. He thought he had it all figured out, and dumb of him, of course he definitely did not. And he needs to make sure that he never gets a setback like that again. I mean, we're talking about a ton of stats that he just lost. We're talking about months of stats that he lost. That's something he never wants to lose again, and he wants to make sure that he doesn't get punished that brutally ever again. While he's thinking to himself, everybody would then go off to do the written portion of the exam, and the written portion of the exam is pretty damn easy for Izuku. I mean, his intelligence stat is so high, he is already very smart, and frankly, he studied, and it was a breeze to study. He easily finishes the exam, written portion of the exam, passing it with flying colors. And then on top of that, when he goes to actually take on the robots, being that of the practical, he easily decimates robot after robot and robot after robot over and over and over again, and he just obliterates through them as if it's completely easy for Izuku, in which everyone is shocked to see someone so fast, someone so strong. It seems as if he's running around and fighting things like someone like maybe All Might or someone like Mirako, and it's kind of insane. I mean, he doesn't have a weapon. It seems like he's just punching through them with his fists. Maybe he has a super strength quirk, and all the teachers would be questioning this because his file says that he's quirkless, in which this would bring a massive amounts of alarms to their heads. But someone else, well, he would be completely shocked, but also very interested, that being All Might. All Might would be completely shocked by the idea that this kid has, well, no quirk, but he is this strong. Something to truly think about, something that he might have to think about maybe for himself and also for One For All as well. Izuku Midoriya would hear as the alarms would eventually blare and the 0 Point robot would show his face. But let's be honest, the 0 Point robot is kind of useless if you can get out of the way. And Izuku, he decides he's not going to fight the 0 Point robot. Well, that's until he sees something pop up on his screen, saying that he has to fight the 0 Point robot and defeat him or die. In which this would shock him, thinking, wow, this thing's going to force him into terrible situations or he'll die anyways. So yeah, that's definitely not good, but he accepts the quest, of course, as he dives forward toward the 0 Point robot, punching it in the face. As it staggers backwards, Izuku would push it over and would jump up into the air and land one crucial blow to its circuitry and shatter it to basically pieces. And then immediately the quest would sound, and it would say that, well, he passed the quest and gained a dungeon key, in which Izuku is completely taken back by this. A dungeon key? What the hell? And Izuku would obviously be leveling up throughout this. Seemingly him destroying robots did give him a couple levels, a couple more, maybe about 2 or 3 more levels, and he just decides that he's going to put it into to agility, giving him 115 agility. But the real question for him personally is this dungeon key. He puts it away for now, putting it in his inventory, not wanting to mess with it at this moment, and he leaves the entrance exam after the alarms blare and they're allowed to go home. And it seems like now it's just a waiting game. For weeks, Izuku continues training, continues to just do status recoveries or even doing loot boxes, which the loot boxes would kind of, show up and have miscellaneous things that are, let's be honest, kind of useless. But he does get another dungeon key throughout these 2 weeks as well that would make him even more curious. Maybe he should try this other stuff. Maybe he should try and basically go about his way of doing a dungeon. I mean, he hasn't tried before, so maybe it's something he should try. But before he could even go along that line of reasoning, before he can even think about doing a dungeon himself, well, let's just say he would get very good news. A letter would come in the mail, and he would grab the letter, and it would be from UA High School. As he opens it and pulls out this tiny little kind of mechanical thing, he places it down to see a hologram show up. It is All Might, the #1 hero, there to congratulate him on getting into Class 1A of UA High School. And on top of that, well, he's the #1 student. A screen would then show up, and it would say that he passed the quest of getting into UA High School, in which would grant him, well, some miscellaneous stuff, nothing insane, but as he accepts it once again, or basically confirms it, he would then see a hidden achievement / quest passed, and this hidden achievement says #1 student in UA, and it shows a hero suit that has now been gifted to Izuku. And on top of that, it also gives him the title of #1 student in Class 1A, or #1 student of the first years of UA High School. Now, this title itself isn't insane. It gives a mild boost to any training he does that is going to be within the boundaries of UA High School, and it's nothing crazy. But it also gives him a 15% bonus to strength against any villains or anybody like that when defending students or also working with other students in UA High School. So the title isn't crazy impressive, but at the end of the day, he also gets a hero suit that is also going to give him different stats as well, or give him bonus stats that could definitely and massively benefit him. It seems as if it actually multiplies his intelligence and also agility by 1.2 times. It's nothing crazy, but it's a hero suit that he actually imagined up himself. So it seems as if the system somehow has, a tap in on his mind to an extent. But it is a hero suit that is more advanced than something his mother would have made. He takes on the title of the #1 year 1 student in UA High School. And on top of that, he is ready to go into UA High School. But there's one thing that still makes him question, one thing that makes him really think, well, it's those dungeon keys. And he'll have to try them out. He'll have to see what they're all about, because he has the suit, he has the year 1 #1 student, and he has a couple different very, very unique stat bonuses that can help him. So maybe it's time to take on this quote-unquote dungeon, but maybe he should wait until he goes on to UA, and soon that's exactly what he'll do, heading off to UA High School, entering his classroom with Shota Aizawa, and Shota Aizawa is there to make an impression. It doesn't matter if you're the worst student or the first student. This is UA High School, and you all are going to be future heroes, either if you like it or not, and you're gonna go through hell, and it all starts day one of UA High School. But that is for the next part of What If Deku Had Solo Leveling. And if you enjoyed, show some love, leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And yeah, I mean, if y'all enjoyed the video, please show some love. Like I said, if you want to see part 2 ASAP, also show some love. I hope y'all enjoyed this. It's gonna be a little different. I know solo leveling kind of has a lot of layers to it. I do have full intention of merging the powers of the quote-unquote solo leveling aspect of it. I won't spoil too much because I don't want to call it by its name, but this is how it's going to start, and I feel like this makes sense for the world and so on. But yeah, if you enjoy, I hope y'all did. Like I said, I hope y'all did. Show some love, all that good stuff, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.